Hello again. We're here today with Jerold P. Isner, who's running as an incumbent in City Council Ward 1. Jerold, appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your campaign.
Well, I'm a lifetime resident of Grafton, with the exception of 3 years where we lived in Ohio and Washington, D.C. for a short while, just long enough to get back home. I love Grafton. The qualifications for the reason I want to run for council, I've told people initially that I wouldn't run again, and then the closer it gets, the more progress we make in the city, and that encourages me to want to run again. So that's the reason I'm going to run again. Now, if you want me to, I can run over a few things that we're actively doing, or do you want to do that at a later time?
Sure, no, you can take that opportunity now. It'd be fine.
Well, we've recently implemented the home rule, which is going to give us a little bit of funding to make some more progress in the city. We're going to target some sidewalks, definitely target the dilapidated structures. We have 150 to 200 structures right now that are targeted to be removed. One of my pet peeves is the fact that the city's not as clean as it used to be, but I understand that somewhat because of the economy and the per capita of income that was once here compared to today. I think in the 50s it was 115 or 20% of the national average. And today, it's probably about half of what the national average per capita income is. So money's not here like it used to be. But we have a city manager and a finance director that, in my opinion, is second to none. Larry Richmond with his bookkeeping, and Kevin with his outlook for the city and what the city needs, and it's just second to none, and we appreciate them. Myself, I can sit and say that I want a lot of things done, but the bulk of the credit goes to Kevin Stead and the Public Works departments. I like what's been done. We're going to target the third phase of Main Street program this year. Maybe not get it this year, but within my term, if reelected. Of course, like I say, accelerate the dilapidated structures, do some sidewalk repairs. Several things that we want. We're working on the playgrounds as we go. We can't do each playground. We have to separate them, do one at a time. We're concentrating on Central right now, but we've upgraded them. I would got some notes here. The cleanup program that I was talking about last fall. Of course, this was Kevin's idea, but of course the council's all in favor of it. They removed 64 30 cubic yard dumpsters. What they do is they take the city truck and they go house to house and ask the individuals if they would help remove some of the debris and trash that's around some houses, or just some things they want to get rid of. The city works with them, and we're doing it as a neighbor to the people, just to clean up the city. So that target is taking place and working well. Of course, the street paving program is obvious what's taking place there. Excuse me, we have a levy that we pave streets every year, with the exception of last year. We run out of time and didn't get the paving done, so we'll do twice that this year. But the citizens of Grafton have graciously renewed that levy every time it's up. But it's obvious that they can see what we're doing to make a difference in the city, and they can see where we're spending the money, where some levies you can't see that. So in this case, that's working well for us, as well as the community. Another thing that I like about Grafton is the historic values that we have here. We have a history second to none, and we've lost a lot of it. And I would like to continue and work with the Historical Society and some of the other entities around us wanting to continue with the history and even increase what we've been doing in the past. Funding's not as easy as it used to be, but we're making some strides, and or I should say they're making more strides than I am, but I like to work with them as well. History is very important. I started 10 years ago working on a program, and I'm still working on it, about the history of Grafton. If I would have started younger, I would have had a lot more for it, but it should be done before long. You want me to talk about turnaround town program at this point?
Yeah, actually, we had two questions. One of them's a home rule and turn this town around, but let's talk about that and All Aboard Grafton and their impact on the town and the relationship with the city council and the All Aboard Grafton group and how you see your role in that as well.
Well, everybody on council is supportive of that. Some of us have been a little more involved than others to work with them. I would like to say that the group that's the group that's working with the Turn the Town Around and All Aboard Grafton have done a tremendous job. They see what we have, and they're very eager to work with the city, and the city is eager to work with them. Initially we had a grant to start the program, and then council approved I think it was a $15,000 grant. I'm not quite sure of those numbers, but anyway, we approved a grant that we could continue the program and give some funding to people that have a desire to work with new things or what we're working with now. We're continuing that, and it's made a tremendous difference in Grafton. I've heard so many compliments, and all this sort of falls into place when we end up in about the 30th of May. What the Turn the Town Around has done, plus the Grafton Days, huge crowds come to Grafton. I was talking to a lady in Morgantown just yesterday that said she comes to Grafton every year for those. And well, she had some roots with her grandparents here, is why she comes. But Turn the Town Around and the Grafton Days program we're going to support them. We're going to encourage them, and we will do what we can at the council with what we have to work with to continue that program and fund it if we can.
Great. And it's obvious some of the activities going on there. It's a neat energy in the town right now.
It is. And
All Aboard Grafton is a partner in this project, and something near and dear to all of our hearts, I think, to see some positive progression in Grafton. And outlying areas as well. I mean, exactly. I know this is a city council position. All Aboard Grafton certainly is reaching out beyond just the city limits as well. But you mentioned Kevin and Larry and the great job they're doing. As a councilman, what is the role? I mean, help people understand, what is the role of a city councilman? In regard to how things get done, and really, are you there? Do you just vote on stuff? Are there initiatives? Are there commissions? How does that work?
Well, you basically covered it. There are there are individuals that work on committees that sort of the brain tank of what they want to work with. As a whole, the council, we can implement ideas, which we do all the time, and it's just not one person or two. And while I'm on that subject, let me say that the council members that are there now have no personal agenda to work on. So therefore, I mean, we all have little personal agendas, but nothing serious enough to argue and fight over like we've had in the past. We work well together, and the like I say, the council can implement ideas. Kevin Stead, our city manager, we hired him as the brain trust, and he is the brain trust. He's a good individual, good to work with, and has so many good ideas. So without Kevin, we would be in trouble.
For sure, no matter what the council looks like, right?
That's right. Well, the council has to approve things as we go. It's just sort of a check and a balance system, and it works pretty well. If Kevin has an idea, we try to make it work if we can. If we can't, we don't always agree, but
sure,
that's okay, as long as we.
The council, from an outside perspective, can be commended because you're right. There were years and years where we were the laughing stock of the region in terms of what we could or could not accomplish in the council chambers and what it looked like. So kudos to everybody involved, to be honest. Hey, so if you're reelected, what would you see as your number one priority, and ultimately, what would you want your legacy as a councilman to be?
Well, I think of course, jobs would be nice, but there's too many communities that are easier to get to, buying for every factory that's out there. That would be nice to have some jobs, and I have no idea at this point how we could attract somebody. So next would probably be the cleanup. If we clean up one structure, hopefully it'll just spread like wildfire, and the community, for many of us, is where we really want to be. I want to live here and I want to die here, but I would like to get it cleaned up. We need cleaning up the city as well as improving Main Street, improving the sidewalks. There's a vast array of things. The history, I guess, again, I could say, but mainly I would focus on the removal of the unsafe and dilapidated structures.
Yeah. How would you distinguish yourself from other candidates? Maybe, and we're not asking for any mudslinging like we see on the national level, but how would you distinguish yourself as a candidate and as a representative for the city of Grafton?
Well, I'm not sure that I could distinguish myself different in the fact that I care more for the city than the others, but this has been my hometown, my parents, my grandparents, and so forth, so my roots run deep here, and I care what happens. And the ideas I have basically started 6 years ago, and there's lots of things we suggest to Kevin, and some things we can do, some we can't. Now, another pet peeve of mine was the sewer drains that were so low, like a pothole. Well, we've got most of them raised up. We have a problem with the street up here on Wilford Street, where water keeps coming out on the road, and that's where you're going to have pothole problems, where water lays on the roads. So we had that on the schedule to pave, but I asked them to take that off, and we need to do some way get some drainage in there before we pave, because we're wasting money in that respect. So that's another priority, is working with things that have been neglected for years. And I'm a believer that if you go in to do something, do it right while you're in there and get out, and then we don't have to go back. And Busty Weber, the director over Public Works, is a fine fellow to work with. He basically does what we ask him to do that he can do.
You've mentioned a couple things in terms of challenges we have as a community, whether it be jobs or structures or funding. What do you see when you look forward as our biggest challenge as a city in this respect?
We have a drug problem, and we're not singling Grafton out because it's nationwide. Right. But we need to do something about that. Some of that needs to be a spin-off from Washington, D.C., and then from Charleston as well. But we need to work with that I see retail as our chance for growth. And there's some possibilities there, and I think we should encourage and embrace that. And I think that's our greatest possibility right there for improvement within the community.
One of the things you mentioned earlier was home rule, and you mentioned that brings some funding. I think a lot of people at home aren't really maybe aware of what home rule, maybe not even aware that we're a home rule city at this point in the program. What can you describe a little bit about what home rule is and how it affects the everyday person, or what advantages, disadvantages that might come with it?
Well, it's going to increase the tax 1%, but there are exceptions. Not on fuel, not on medicines. I don't think it's on groceries. I'm not sure about that. This thing is very, very confusing. Sure. Kevin has been through it with the fine-tooth comb and tried to keep us up to date with it. The home rule program is a possibility for us to have a little bit of revenue to work with that we haven't had in the past. And we as a community have lost a huge amount of revenue. We lost Grafton Homes, the box shop in Fetterman. Those were just recently. I mean, within the last 5 or 6 years. That was the revenue. Our biggest revenue source right now comes from Walmart. We used to get some funding from the coal severance tax, but everyone pretty well knows what's taking place there, and the coal severance taxes is just about nothing anymore. But back to the home rule, it gives us an opportunity to go into some of the dilapidated structures we have and be able to move to do something with that within a year or so, where before it took 3 years and sometimes a court order. So it's going to speed that process up. The 1% tax I was talking about will afford us the ability that we haven't had as far as revenue for sidewalks, which I mentioned. That's going to be part of that. The Main Street program, we pretty well have the funding for that.
You mentioned the complexity of home rule, but it's also very new. I mean, this is still a pilot phase, right? I mean, there's only maybe a dozen cities in the state, or in that range?
Exactly. Yeah. I think when we were accepted, was the second year for it.
Yeah, right.
It's a good program from our perspective. As you enter the program and apply for it, you have to tell them what your intentions are, and then you have to reduce some taxes to be able to implement that, which I think there's going to be some B&O taxes reduced and so forth, which may encourage some business to come in, may not. We don't know at this point what it's going to do, but we definitely need a source of revenue to continue the city of Grafton as it is. Now, the water situation we have in Grafton, we have probably close to a 50% water loss.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Now that's surprising, but I heard on the Today Show the other day that that's the average for older cities in the United States.
Wow. Okay. And then, so we talk about our falling off, our infrastructure around the nation falling around. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, but home rule program at this particular time is not going to help us there, but eventually it may. If we get the sidewalks taken care of, we can earmark the money possibly for the water system and whatever. It's very complex. No one has any idea how complex it is. And Busty finds water lines on occasion. We had no idea it was even there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the problem we had downtown.
Exactly.
It's tough. Those guys have a heck of a job of trying to track those lines down sometimes.
Yeah, we had a firm in here trying to find water leaks, and they told us that they would save us as much as it cost us to have them in here, which they haven't done. They're baffled at this point as to where the water leaks are, but I realize that, and maybe the public doesn't understand this, but your leaks find the source of ease to get out, to get the thin wall pipes and so forth. Well, you patch that, increases the pressure, and it finds the next weakest point. So it's a situation that we're never going to reduce it all. Of course, there's probably some out there that's hooked up to the water line that are not being billed for it too. So it's a huge problem that we would like to do something in the near future, and we're working on it. Just have had no success at this point.
With that said, I appreciate you being on the program. As a concept, we always have the candidate give the last word. What is it you'd like to tell the people of Grafton?
Well, I would like to tell the people of Grafton that I thank them for their support in the past, and I would ask them for their vote again this year to continue the programs that we have started. And again, I thank them. The public has been, for me, so easy to work with. Of course, I don't think I'm a controversial person, but you approach a person, they're open-minded about what we want to do, and pretty much make an effort to help us, and I appreciate that. But if elected, I'll continue what I've done. I'm not going to promise too much. I'm not going to promise any jobs because I couldn't deliver, so no promise for something you can't deliver. Again, I thank them and would ask for their vote.
Great. All right. Thank you. Good luck.
You're welcome. Thank you.